Hama Tuma at the International Poetry Festival in Berlin. The 13th Annual International Poetry Festival in Berlin was held in Berlin from June 1st to June 9th, 2012, and Hama Tuma was one of the invited African guests. The festival is held every year and is sponsored, this year, by the German Foreign Ministry, Afrika Veneer, Academy of Arts, Kunst, Berlin, Literature Across Frontiers, the British Council, European Union, many other literature centres and embassies, African NGOs and women's groups, Institut Français, Heinrich Böll Stiftung, etc. Isabel Ferinaguer, who had in the past facilitated the publication of the poems of Hama Tuma and Almu Tebjin, a Chinese anthology of African poetry, No Serenity Here, was in charge of the overall proceedings involving the African poets. Aside from Hama Tuma, the African poets invited to the prestigious poetry festival included Professor Eupraise Kezilahabi, the veteran poet, writer and philosopher from Tanzania, now teaching in Botswana, the rising and well-known poet, singer, actress and performer of Kenya, Mzwatila Moyo, and Egyptian poet and reporter Mrs. Fatima Nut, USA, was unable to attend for personal reasons, as well as Sudanese poet Al-Sadiq Al-Ray, who met with specific difficulties that impeded his voyage. The festival was opened by the reading of the work of several poets from Japan, China, Canada, Macedonia, Tunisia, Greenland, USA, Germany, etc. Professor Kezilahabi and Nigerian poet Nwatilo presented a poetry talk and brief reading of their poems. This was followed by a discussion period between Hama Tuma and Egyptian poet Fatima Nut on the issue of war, loss, reconciliation and poetry. In the evening, all the African poets read their poems in English, Swahili, Amharic and Arabic. The predominantly German audience was moved and applauded the poets. Hama Tuma informed the audience that Berlin as a city has a special place in the struggle for democracy in Ethiopia as European Student Union annual meetings, and that of the formation of the Worldwide Federation of Ethiopian Students and the first Congress of the EPRP were all held in the city. Hama read his poem to mothers, to sisters in Amharic, while the audience read the fine German translation made by Andreas Swetter. On June 5th, Hama Tuma and Tanzanian poet Professor Kezilahabi, the veteran fighter in the late 60s to make Swahili a recognized language of learning, held a well-attended and vibrant talk at the Afrika Veneer Center on the crucial issue of decolonizing the mind, the role of languages and the place of literature, poetry in all this. Several questions were asked by the audience and the discussion was lively. On June 6th, Hama read 4 poems in Amharic and 4 poems in English for the Lyric Line organization, lyricline.org, that has posted on its websites many other poems read by international poets. On the sideline of the festival, Hama Tuma has met with dozens of international poets, writers, journalists and other guests, and taken the opportunity to update all of them on the situation in Ethiopia. Yewol Arts Productions is proud to present samples from Hama's presentation next.
Und Hama Tuma bitten, ich möchte dich bitten, Hama, wenn du uns sagen könntest, inwiefern ist dein Wirken, inwiefern greift dein Wirken diese Themen von Verlust und von Wiederherstellung oder von Genesung. Inwiefern ist dein Wirken darauf gerichtet? Oder inwiefern kommen diese Themen zur Sprache? Yes, yes. I'd like to ask you, to start us off, I'd like to ask you how loss and recovery are important themes in your work. I read your poetry, I read text. And looking at the poetry, I was kind of seeing that there's loss as a theme is being woven in and out. And then when you spoke about your activism with these 3 regimes that who were uncomfortable with the way, with your activism and with your lyrical work, I was kind of thinking about how would you say your work is relevant to this theme of loss and recovery?
Okay, first of all, I would like to say I've never written an American. It's only a title of a book. collection of poetry which is eating in America. Because in America I don't read poetry, so I never had problems with visas. But it was inspired by a West African poet who said, I'm not a cannibal, I haven't eaten anybody, my gums are red because I ate tomato, and from that I took saying eating in America, the title of the collection of poems. As for loss and recovery, I don't know about the recovery part, but for the loss, since I come from Ethiopia, Ethiopia has been the nation country that has passed through many troubles and difficulties, and still does. When we were student activists back in the 60s, we had a lot of problem with the emperor's regime. I was expelled from the university. I had to leave the country in a very unconventional way. And after that, we were hoping for a change. That change never came. Came a despot called Mengistu, who was allied to the Soviet Union, who massacred a lot of people. Again, when Mengistu went, there was a hope of a reconciliation, of having people coming together and finding a new beginning. That has not also, in my opinion, been achieved. For many years, we have to fight a war against Mengistu. With gun in our hands. Now also we have a lot of problems in Ethiopia which may degenerate into this kind of thing, or may not, we will see. So in my poems, there is always this theme of losing one's country, losing one's identity, losing one's place, losing one's self-respect because of the problems of exile and what exile imposes on you, and loss of one's country, that I cannot go back to my birthplace at all. All these things are will into that. Recovery is a hope. We always sustain some hope because we have to continue to live, to struggle. So there is some hope we always carry with us. When the first collection of poetry I wrote, it was in English, 200 something pages. I sent it to a publisher in London, and the critic said, this poet is someone who has had some faith in the revolution, has lost all faith in the revolution, and is now totally depressed, and which I was not. Okay. But I don't know, maybe I write that kind of poetry. To begin with, I don't write much poetry. No, I'm not like my friend here. I write books. And at the end of the line, when it concludes, you get a meaning, which is very innocent and bland, but actually there is a message. You see, like for example, we had a coin. On this there was a crown, and this there was a lion. That was in Slas's time. And then we used to play like this, gamble on it. They had some head or tails, as they say. So somebody made a king out of it. He said, I played this gamble and I lost. How unlucky, how lucky I would have been if I had overturned the crown. That means if I had the crown, but he said, overturn the emperor, overthrow him. This kind of thing, this is the way it went all the way. So it's a matter of survival.
So it's a common practice?
It's a common practice, survival.
Okay.
And people understand.
Thank you very much. To start us off, Fatma, you're in very many different spheres. As a TV moderator, you write columns, you write poetry. Your influence or your impact is in very many different spheres. Our main point, the main line of what we're doing is focusing on
and short stories and these very hopeful things, and that was stopped by the military.
So how do you explain this huge surge of poems
that
came up around that?
We had a few, hope for a few months.
Okay.
That is given the Ethiopians, so hope for a few months, and then after 17 years, 20 years.
Okay.
But for me, for our experience is different. For me, I cannot imagine myself writing poems. The poems I write in Amharic Those are political poems. Many of them. They are not dry political poems. You see? Now I wrote about the one I'm going to read is about mothers and sisters because of the condition of women in Ethiopia and in the whole region, which is very bad. To remind people that our mothers and sisters are not to be treated like that.
I read that one. So you're going to read at 8?
Yes.
In
Fortunately, it's one of my shortest poems.
It's one of the shortest.
For the audience.
Okay. And you're reading it in Amharic?
I'm going to read the Amharic. I
Okay.
don't know what is written in German. Is the same thing. I don't know.
I read it in German, obviously, because I don't read Amharic.
Yeah, my friend also told me it's good.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you, when you speak, I'm kind of listening, I'm hearing you giving voice to certain things through poetry. You said your political activism was prior to your intervention as a writer. And I still want to ask about aesthetics. So are you talking people's souls? Are you trying to talk people's souls? Or are you not attempting at all?
No,
Is it relevant to you?
I try because in Ethiopia the poems are repeated. There is a long tradition of oral literature also, and of studying poems and repeating them during weddings. So a lot of people like to listen to poems.
Okay.
But books are not sold much in Ethiopia because it's extremely expensive, and censorship is there. Was there all the time. People, most people are not literate. English, not English, I'm saying about Mali books. English is another story. It's written for another public.
Okay, for another planet.
Yeah, for another planet. For those who have gone to school, I did,
Yeah, that's a prior conversation that we had with
we don't have the problem of language. Language as colonial expression, we don't have it because Ethiopia was not colonized.
Okay.
The Italian state fighters, they went out.
They take for 5 years.
Yeah,
and didn't do enough damage for you to have
They tried.
language.
There still 1 million people at least.
Okay, in 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they didn't implant the culture, the language, they didn't have time. So we stayed with our own language, our own culture. So it is not extremely, we don't feel it as extremely as others feel who have been subjected to speak English by force or French by force. So our experience is different.
Okay. So Fatma, can I ask about the giving voice question? What is it you're trying to give voice to? Or is it, who are you speaking to? Because when Hama was just speaking, and he said, you write in Amharic, many people hear at least the audio of the Amharic is for big groups of people.
And sadly, I would like to thank you for coming here to listen to me. Berlin, for us, is a very important place. When we were young students in the 70s, we used to come to West Berlin to have our annual meeting. And from this annual gathering, our party was born. And the first Congress of this party was also held in Berlin in April 1972. And that party went on to fight against Mengistu and all the other successive regimes. So Berlin is also part of the solution of the problem in Ethiopia. We will decide on that in the future. The poem I'm going to read is, actually, you are very lucky, it's one of my shortest poems. Since this is the first time I read my poem in public, I'm not going to bore you long, I'll read it very fast, so you will not suffer. Okay, let me begin. It's to our mothers and sisters, because the condition of women, as you know, in my country or in the countries around in the Horn of Africa and Africa is very horrible, continues to be to worsen. So I wrote this for our mothers and sisters. ለእናቶች ለእህቶች ያን ዓለም ሲከሰት ከነገሳንግሱ ዘፈኑ ቀረርቶ ምስጋናው ታሪኩ ለአዳም ሆነ ሁሉ አመጣጧ ግራ ያጥንት ሁሉና ኃጢአት አስተናጋጅ ሳትጠና ገና ሔዋን እናታችን ከያኔው ተውዛ ከያኔው ተሰድባ ሚነበብ መጽሐፍ ቅዱሱ ቁርአኑ ዝቅተኛ ብሏት ለአዳም ተገዢ ምክንያት ለውድቀቱ ዋጋ ወርቅነቷ ከሎሌነት ሚሰርጽ እርግማን ተቀባይ ገና ስትረገዝ ለሽያጭና ሞት ታይታ የምትጠበቅ ቻይናና አፍሪካ ህንድ ሆነ በአረቦች መከራቸው ብዙ ሁሉም እናት እህቶች ስቃያቸው ማት የዚህ ዓለም ሴቶች አጎሉ ችሎታው ብቃቱ ሳያንሳት ባህል ሃይማኖቱ እድሏን ቀምቷት በዝባዦች ገዢዎች ባሎችና ወንዶች አፍነው ይዘዋት ውድ እናት እህቴ ጭቆናዋ በስቶ ድርብ ደግሞ ድርብ እጅና እግሯ ታስሮ ገና ስትወለድ ታፍና የሞተች በዱር በገደሉ ባውሬ እየተጣለች ትደግ ከተባለም ተዳርጋ ለወፍጮ ለሸክም ለንስራ የመማር እድሏን በአብዛኛው ተነፍጋ ሴት ልጅ እንጂ ናት መቼ ደንፊ ወንዱ ነው የሴት ልጅ ይላሉ ግርማ ሞገስ ክብሩን ከስድብ ፈርጀው መሳቂያ የሆኑ ድንቁርና ናቅፈው እናት ተኪ የለሽ የፍቅር ጎተራ የሁሉም ማንነት ከየት የመጣ ነው ከሷ ካልሆነማ እናቱን ከናቀ እሱ ማን ሊባል ነው ማን ሆኖ ሲወለድ ህይወት የለገሰው የሁሉም እናቶች የኛ ሁሉቶች ሁሉም እንቁ ሴቶች ሆኖ ሳለ ክቡር ለሀገር ምሰሶዎች ይናቁ የለም ወይ ይባሉ የለም ወይ ዝቅተኛ ሴቶች መገለልጣቸው መጨቆን ኑሯቸው ማን ነው ይኑሩ የፈረደባቸው እስቲ እንነጋገር ገበናው ይሰጣ ማናው ሀገር ገቢ ማናው ቆራጥ ጀግና የሴቶችን ሚና ሲያንኳስስ ሲያናልቅ ዘመን አለፈና ትምክትን ጌጥ ሆኖ የሴቶች ጭቆና ሁሉንም ተብትቦ ህብረተሰብ ሁሉ በዚህ ምክንያት ታሞ ደፋ ቀናው ቀጣይ ጭቆናው እስካለ እድገት ከት ሊመጣ ሴት ከተጨቆነ እናቱን እህቱን ወንዱ ከበደለ ይህ ነገር ይታወቅ ገበናው ይሰጣ በሴት በዳ ሀገር ነፃነት አይመጣ ወንዶች ሚሊቶች ባዶ አሸነፉ ወይስ ጣይቶች ከጎን ሆኖ ታግለው ድልን አበሰሩ ዘመቻ የጥንቱ የትላንት የዛሬው የመንግስት የፋኖ ሴት ልጅ ባትኖርበት ምን ነበር የሚወጣው የወንድ ወኔ ቢሉት ምንጩ ኮየት ነው ሴት ልጅ ጀግናይቱ አመታ ባትወልደው
Nunca has estado donde se hacen tus sueños, tampoco sabes dónde es, ay dónde es, pero sabes, pero sabes, pero sabes, pero sabes que aquí no es, que aquí no es. Que aquí no es, que aquí no es, que aquí no es, que aquí no es, que aquí no es. Softly say my name, call me back to stay, softly say my name, call me back to stay.